Alright, I'm going to walk you guys through the solar system assignment. So we're going to create a new file in Illustrator. Choose Art and Illustration and choose 1280 by 1024 and click Create. The very first thing that we want to do is we want to create a rectangle, and this is going to be black. Go to Properties, give it a fill that is black. It can have no stroke or it can have a black stroke, it doesn't matter. Now we're going to go to Layers, and we're going to click on this little drop down right here, and we're going to lock that layer. That's going to make it so we can't move this around. We can do things on top of it. It's just going to be easier for us to work with. Next, we're going to create some planets. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool, holding down Shift. I'm going to create a gradient on top of it by clicking on it. Make sure that you have this in front, not the stroke. You want to make sure that's in front, otherwise the gradient won't work. And then I'm going to go to Window Gradient to pull out my gradient options. I'm going to click on the radial, and you can redraw it. Think about where your sun is going to be. I'm going to put my sun over here, so I want it to be pointing that direction. For a simple planet, we can do something like this. You can make your planet whatever color you want. Now I'm going to make another one that's a little bit more complicated. This planet is going to be in reverse. I'm going to put the light area on that side and then this one on that side. And we are going to make everything kind of over there. And you can see that now it looks kind of like a moon. So this planet, I'm just going to rotate it so that it points also towards my light source. And you could shrink that. Maybe this could be a moon of this planet kind of sitting in front of it like that. And then if we don't want it to be purple, you can change it to whatever color you want by clicking here, or you can go to your swatches and pick one of those. And maybe instead of white, I'll do kind of a lighter green. Like that. I like that. Okay. Now I'm going to create a sun. So I'm going to use an ellipse. And for this one, I'm actually going to use this other type of gradient, which is kind of fun. It's called a freeform gradient. Now wherever I click, I can create colors. So right now we have these two. If I double click on them, I can change them. So let me just choose orange. And I'm going to pick on this one and choose like yellow. Now, if you click on one and you click somewhere else, it'll add more of those spots. So I'm going to click on the yellow, and it adds more of those spots. I could create a new one. Let me choose like a red. Let's go a little less intense. And again, wherever I click, it's going to add the red. So you can be as elaborate with this as you want. If you want to come back to a color you picked, just click on it, and then click on a blank area, and you'll create more of those. So I've created some solar spots here, and that is my sun. Now this part's going to be cut off when we export it, so you're actually only going to see something like that looks like that. We could also feather this to give it kind of a softer edge. Under Effects, we go to Stylize, and we choose Feather. And then you can increase the number of pixels that you want it to be feathered if you wanted to get something more like that, kind of a soft edge. All right, let's go a little bit more complicated. Let's add some rings to one of our objects. So I'm going to take this moon right here, and I'm going to give it some rings. I'm going to start off by creating a ellipse. Just make it yellow for now. And then I'm going to make a copy of this ellipse. Holding down Alt, I'm going to make this one a different color so you can see it, and put it right back to where it was. And using Alt, I'm going to shrink it so I get a nice little ring. And the ring might be a little bit distorted. I'm not really sure whether it would look like that or that, but that's fine. Who cares? Now I'm going to select both of these, and using the Shape Builder tool, I'm going to cut out this center section. Deselect it, and then reselect and delete that. And you can also, there's another way you can do this, might be a little easier. If you select both of these, you could use a Boolean, and that would cut out the center. That's right here under Pathfinder. Okay, now we have this. And I'm going to give this now a radial gradient. You can find some pretty cool gradients. If you go into Window, Swatches, which you'll find, you might have to scroll down to find swatches. And then I'm going to go into the library and choose gradients. And then there's all sorts of crazy ones you can choose from. But let's go with, I don't know, spectrums. And then you have these cool little gradients right here. To make them really cool, we're going to go back to our gradient tool. And let's make these all over on this side. When we, oh, sorry, I have to make it radial first. Let's make them all, okay, what am I doing? Let's make this bigger, and let's shrink it down so that it fits exactly. And then we're going to push these so they're all over here. Cool. And then just kind of get that to fit however you can, as best you can. So that's pretty cool. That's what we end up with. Now, here's another tricky part. In order to get it to actually fit here, you got to make a copy of your planet and think about like where you want it. Let's say it's like right there. Select both of them, and then using the shape builder tool, I got to click on this to get rid of that section. I can delete all this now, pull this back, and I now have my planet with rings. You can also make some pretty crazy stuff like nebula and other things using the freeform gradient tool. You could add like a gas cloud, so I can make this one black, have a bunch of black ones all over the place. And then I could add like a little bit of like color to some of them. Almost looks like there's this crazy little gas cloud going on. Let me make it a little bit blue. And that can be kind of fun. You can see the edges though are kind of messed up, so if you want to go in and affect stylize feather so that the edges are softer, you can pull that up really high. And so you won't see like the circle. All right, now is the stars. So this is a pretty complicated process to make them exactly as you want. So, but I think it works pretty well. So I'm going to create an ellipse. Now you want it to be pretty small, about that big, and it should have no stroke, and it should have a white fill. Now go to your selection tool and go to Effects, Distort and Transform, Pucker and Bloat. Hit that preview button so you can see it, and we're going to just pull this back to about negative 90% and click OK. Now we're going to create a new brush from this. And first of all, is that the right size? Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. And we're going to take this brush and we're going to create a new one by hitting plus. And it's going to be called a scatter brush. Okay. With our scatter brush, we're going to call this stars. We're going to say that the size is random from 10% to 100%. The spacing is random. Go all the way on both sides. The scatter is random. And we'll leave the rotation alone. The method of color, let's not worry about that. All right, so if I now get my paintbrush out and we have that star brush selected and I start going like this, does that. But it's on top of everything, so let me just go into my layers and let me just take that and just pull it to the bottom. So it's just above this. This might be a little bit too intense. Maybe the size should be a little smaller. You can kind of play around with it and try again. I'm actually just going to pull the opacity down a little so it's kind of see-through. And that's a little less intense. And again, all the stuff that falls off the edge is not actually going to show up. After that, you guys can create rocket ships using some shapes. You can add some more planets. Get creative. You know, there's no limit to this. Again, the gradients are really fun. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. Like if I chose metal, I can pick like a gradient that makes this look like a rocket ship. Looks like metal. And there's all sorts of cool little designs you can use. So there's like the base of my rocket. And then you can use other shapes to start like building it up to make it look like a rocket ship. These little guys will bend edges, so you can kind of curve things if you want to. So yeah, just get creative. And if you wanted to play around with like building up new shapes, remember you can always use the shape builder. So if I select both of these objects, I can go like that, and now I just created a window. Let's make that black. But you don't have to do what I do, or I'll make it silver. I don't know. You can try your own thing. Just get creative. All right, that's it.